Technology continues to advance with implications that will mould and shape our society. No one could have foreseen the changes that computers and then cell phones would have on social interaction. The phone has become a lens through which many view their lives. This has been claimed to be the cause of many problems in today's world, and it looks like this could be the tip of the iceberg. VR and augmented reality have seen the development of platforms of technology that take people away from human-on-human interaction. These technologies often started life as military-funded projects, and now there is a new one that could continue to morph and massively change society. The government is seriously researching and creating mind-controlled weapons and machines. Let's take a look. Welcome to IF, videos on history and mystery. Hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you never miss a video again. Our old friends at DARPA, the Department of Defense Research arm, have decided to fund a project that aims to invent ways to instantly read the minds of soldiers. They are designing and using newly created tools like the manipulation of the human brain through genetic engineering, nanotechnology, and infrared beams. This worrying project has the end goal of creating weapons systems which could be controlled via direct links to the mind of a soldier. A digital telepathy or telekinesis, if you will. What do they plan on controlling? Well, that's easy. Everything. Starting with drones and working up to bigger craft. I already looked at the dangers of drones in the video linked above. The Research and Development Wing of the US military complex has announced that 6 teams will receive funding under the Next Generation Non-Surgical Neurotechnology N3 program. This money will be used to pay for the development of two-way communication from a human being to a machine, all without the need for surgery. Outlining the project goals, Jacob Robinson of Rice University's Bioengineering Department said, "Imagine someone who's operating a drone or someone who might be analyzing a lot of data. There's this latency where, if I want to communicate with my machine, I have to send a signal from my brain to move my fingers or move my mouth to make a verbal command, and this limits the speed at which I can interact with either a cyber system or physical system. So the thought is, maybe we could improve that speed of interaction." I think what he means by improve is change the human element of this equation. The transhumanist idea that we must better our own biological body to meet the demands of ever-improving technology, creating a synergy in the biological and mechanical. Is this yet another step toward a cyborg future? To support this idea, Robinson goes on to say that the data the human subject would receive from smart machines would be like a tidal wave which threatens to overwhelm the brain of a man or a woman using the technology. But ultimately, he hopes that he can find an answer and that his equipment would become part of both military and the civilian domain. So just how close are they, and what stands in the way of a cybernetic military? While there have been huge advancements in the capability of reading and even writing information directly to the brain, these developments generally need the surgical insertion of brain implants. We see these devices used today to treat things like Parkinson's and epilepsy. The idea of physically inserting something into the brain of a healthy fighting fit soldier is seen as too much of a risk. The use of non-invasive technologies like EEGs could be used as a link. At this point, we may have to ask the question, would these researchers consider implanting a device into someone who was less healthy, maybe an injured veteran? This technology allowing the military to have a non-able-bodied but experienced mind on the battlefield. The device they see using would need to read and write to 16 independent locations. This all in a section of brain no bigger than the size of a pea, and would need to operate with a lag of no more than 50 milliseconds. Robinson is hoping he and his team will achieve this in as little as 4 years. Robinson went on to say, "When you try to capture brain activity through the skull, it's hard to know where the signals are coming from and when and where the signals are being generated. So the big challenge is, can we push the absolute limits of our resolution both in space and time?" They may have found a way with a plan of genetically tweaking human brains. This plan of genetic manipulation creeps in with DARPA-funded researchers planning to use viruses to carry genetic material into pre-selected cells. The irony of computers once being given viruses by man, and now, possibly, computers will be able to do the same to humans, is hopefully not lost on Robinson and his team. The procedure will use 2 types of proteins as carriers. The first protein absorbs light when a neuron is firing, which would make it possible to detect and locate neural activity. A beam of light would come from an external headset, and infrared light would be able to pass through the skull and on into the brain. The headset then detects and measures the tiny signals which are reflected from the altered brain tissue, thus mapping an image of the brain. The second protein has the job of delivering a payload, this payload being the magnetic nanoparticles. These nanoparticles enabling the neurons to be magnetically stimulated. The stimulation of the neurons would induce an image or sound in the patient's mind. As a proof of concept, the group plans to use the system to send images from the visual cortex of one person to that of another. Wow, talk about seeing the world through someone else's eyes. Robinson said, "Being able to decode or encode sensory experiences is something we understand relatively well. At the bleeding edge of science, I think we are there, and if we had the technology to do it." This technology is being looked at for use outside of the military, with companies looking to build fleets of mind-controlled drones. Could this be the first steps on a path towards surrogates? What if you become a drone pilot? Will you ever see an actual person, or will your life be lived looking through the camera lens of a drone? Battelle, the non-profit research institute, sees this as humanity's future, and they want to develop this technology so that the nanoparticles can be easily delivered through inhalers or nasal sprays. The person then having the hardware installed ready to connect to a device, or maybe have a device connected to them. This technology giving access to all we see and hear to an outside source is quite a scary thought. How will we be able to tell what is real from what is computer-based data? This technology could provide the means to hack a human mind. I opened this conversation with the unforeseen effects today's technology has had on society. People being sucked into a phone screen and disconnecting from the real world. What is going to happen when that world becomes binary code beamed directly into our brain? Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like what I do here on the channel, hit that red button, like and share. You can catch the latest by searching We Are If. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.